Find the reference angle for each. I'm going to draw a little picture over here. Okay, a reference angle is my angle. So whatever picture I'm given, it's the angle measured closest to the x-axis. So if I'm given an angle and it looks like that, that's my reference angle. If I'm given an angle and it looks like that, that's my reference angle, so on and so forth. So let's get rid of some of these things that I just drew, and let's figure out how we do this. Now, this is if I'm given angles measured less than 360 degrees or 2 pi. It's actually kind of easy, okay? If it's in quadrant 1 here, your angle is just your angle, okay? Now, if I'm measuring this in degrees, if you live in quadrant 2, it's going to be 180 minus the angle that you have, or it's going to be pi minus the angle that you have. That's how you find the reference angle. Okay, if you're in quadrant 3, it's flipped. It's going to be the angle that you have minus 180, or the angle that you have minus pi. And if you're living over here in quadrant 4, your reference angle is found by doing 360 degrees minus your angle, or it's found by doing 2 pi minus your angle. Now, before we get started, we need to find out what these guys are in terms of 360 or 2 pi. So what I need to do is I need to make sure that this guy here is written in between 0 and 2 pi. Similarly, I need to make sure that guy is written in between 0 and 360 degrees. If it's not, then I need to keep adding or subtracting these numbers right here until I live in that territory. Now, this is not in between 0 and 2 pi. Since this is negative, I'm going to add 2 pi until I live in that territory. So if I add 2 pi, that would be the same as me adding 24 over 12, which is 2 pi. When I do that, I get negative 23 pi over 12 pi, or just 12, or just 12. Even though I wrote pi, I said pi, it's just 12. Just 12. Just 12. Now I'm not in my range again, so I'm going to add 2 pi again. I'm going to add 24 pi over 12. Negative 23 plus 24 is 1. So negative 23 pi plus 24 is pi over 12. Now, if I want to turn that into a reference angle, I need to compare that to here. Anything in quadrant 1 is going to be less than half a pi or 90 degrees. This is less than half a pi, which means this is already my reference angle, praise God. So I'm done with that guy. Not so bad. Not so bad at all. 530 is not quite there. I'm going to subtract 360, that number, and end up with 170 degrees. Now I know that this is 180 degrees, which means 170 lives in quadrant 2. So to find the reference angle, I'm going to do 180 minus 170 and end up with 10 degrees. That's my reference angle right there. Now, other teachers might do this differently. If you're able to look at this and know exactly what quadrant that lives in your brain, great. And then what you do, if you knew that immediately right off the bat that was in quadrant 1, then you just add 2 pi, you add 2 pi again, and then you end up with that. Or if you knew right off the top of the head that after you spun this around a few times, you ended up in quadrant 2, then you could do 180 minus 530, realize you don't get what you want, and then repeat the process, and then you end up with 10. Awesome. That's not how I did it. I find this method a little bit simpler, so I'm sticking with it. Okay, might take a few steps longer, but I like it. Don't judge me. Reference angles.